Seems like everyone's customizing sneakers, but I haven't seen many people doing this. Stay tuned for more. So, I decided I wanted to paint the bottom of my shoes. Saw something on Pinterest that piqued my interest, so I got me an Angela set. Did what the sneakerheads do. I prepped, sanded the bottom. These particular shoes have the traction on the bottom, so I had to sand to my heart's desire to try to get the shine off of the bottom of these shoes. Of course, it's not leather, but we're going to test it out anyway, see how it holds up. So getting in those grooves was a bit hard to do. Pretty sure I probably didn't do it as well because it's very texturized. So I sand until I got the shine off most of the bottom. I really needed to focus on basically the arch of the shoe where most of the art will be. The bottom, not so much. I don't expect that to last, but I did paint the entire bottom. Just in case, I'll put a red bottom sticker on it to try to preserve it for as long as possible. But this is my first project, and I wanted to see how it looked in the end. So just sanding to my heart's desire to try to get the shine off, like I said, get in those grooves because that's where the most of the artwork will be, right up there at the arch. So we'll see. So I'm going in with the cleaner to clean all the standing residue off the bottom of the shoe. Get it prepped to figure out my next steps. Again, I'm not trying to be a pro here. I'm just testing the waters to see how this will work out. Because it's something that I'll probably get locked in. I love my sneakers. I want to customize those, but I love my heels more because I'm a big girl now. So, not meaning big girl isn't bad, but I'm kind of chubby, but that's a different story. Anyway, so I'm cleaning off these heels, cleaning off the residue of the light sanding because it was pretty light, as you can still see a lot of shine in the texturized bottom, but hopefully that wouldn't be a problem while painting. Now I went in with the paper towel to make sure I got all the cleaner residue out of it before I started with the paint. And don't judge me, but I just had to use a laptop holder, a tablet holder, in order to hoist my shoe up. I had to figure out something. So that's me going back in some spots that felt still a little too slick. I do want the paint to adhere, so I was basically getting all the important spots, like around the edges where the texture is not. And I'll clean that up as well. So this is the design that I was going for. I saw something like this on Pinterest, but when I made my little shoe design, I realized that the flamingo should be at the top, well, at the heel, not at the toe. The head of the flamingo should not be pointing towards the toe. So I figured since it's a black bottom, I'm going to go in with some white to give me a surface to figure out how I'm going to put the image on the bottom of the shoe in order to paint. So, and I wasn't trying to be perfect. I just wanted a surface where my image would show up better so I could go in with the paint. And plus, to help me not have to go in so many times with the colors in the image, so it will actually show up. So yeah, the next time I will source, there's not many shoes with white bottoms, maybe a light tan or something of the sort that I will do next time, and source some shoes that don't have the texturized bottom. But you live, you learn. It's my first go around, and I don't plan on stopping. As you can see, I already knew that the texturized portion was going to be a bit of a struggle to get the paint in, so I'm kind of working that in. You can see the texture even better now. So I had to go in and kind of dig the angle of the paintbrush into each and every groove, because it's going in one direction and then another direction, kind of a zigzag pattern. So I was already dreading trying to put the design on, because that part definitely will be a struggle. And also I had another struggle in the middle of the arch. Is the shoe size, it just juts out instead of just a regular sticker like some. Unfortunately, it's kind of poking out, so I have to work around that as well. And earlier in the video, I was trying to sand in between the numbers, but hopefully the image will kind of cover that up, so you won't really notice the number poking out in the flamingo's belly. More visuals on the other shoe. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go all the way to the edge with the paint right now, because I figured that from the image, behind the leaves is just black, and I figured I would just go in with the black, or just leave some black space so I don't have to use as much paint. But I still wanted a surface to work with, so we'll see how that works. I'm not sure if that will work like I want it to, but we shall see. Yo, stress got you feeling tight. Tilted wicks gonna set you right. Strike a match, let the vibe ignite. So right now I'm trying to determine what colors I'm gonna need. I got the Angelus, the basic starter kit that came with some primary colors. So I figured I'll have to do some mixing and matching. I did my best to do that. I really wanted, as you can see in the picture, the flamingo is much darker than the pink that they have. So I'll just go in with some red and use some light pink highlights. See how that works out. So trying to preserve, making a mess. It's got to be a better way. So I got a darker tone because the pink that comes with it is pretty light, almost as light as the shoes. So it would be cool, but I do want some depth with this. And then the green, I need different shades of green. So I'm gonna go in with the green, add a little yellow, in order to make, a different tone there. And then I can use the basic green as well to give it some contrast. with the leaves. So I figured my first go round, I was trying this tracing method. I got tracing paper underneath the actual image, going in with the little tracing ballpoint. It has a finer tip and a little wider tip. You see me changing up there. So I'm going in, trying to scrape some image, and as you can see, that did not do anything. So that was an epic fail. Spent a lot of time in the details, and I got a little scuff here and there. So here's my second attempt. I figured, okay, so I can't do the tracing. So what I will do is cut out the main image and just freestyle some leaves on. I'll do an outline of the flamingo and just go in and add the detail myself. So here I am trying to position what I was working with. I wanted to have the head there right at the arch, right under the heel, but I also wanted the feet to follow and be on the bottom of the shoe. And for some reason, I get a little afflicted and my foot just hanging off the shoe. So yeah, I was struggling. I was trying to figure out a way to do this, and I did what I did. Had to work it out. And pro tip: don't use a Sharpie to trace an image if you plan on painting over it, because that gave me some trouble there. Plus, it was no easy way to try and get rid of that. Just layers upon layers of paint, and it still affected the final image. But we'll see. You'll see. So I'm trying to get those little bird toes in there, and as you can see, the foot's just dangling off the edge. Trying to get the knobby knee in there. And I did it somewhat. I went back in and I cut the little leaves in between the legs to try to get that angle. So I got something to work with. Still trying to get that foot in there, because that's one of the main features of this image. It needs to show 2 feet or somewhat of 2 feet, but I think I got enough what I'm working with, and I'll work on that. And I was going in the black because you can still see kind of a chalky image when I was drawing in the outer skirts of the shoe where I didn't put the paint. I could still see where the Sharpie was. So I was going all the way to the tape basically in my design. And now I'm going in trying to put some detail in there of what I could figure out. And I probably shouldn't have tried to shade. I tried to stay away from shading too much. I figured just stick with the detail so I could work with that. And that outline looked way better than the image itself. But I worked with it. I did what I could. Here I am freestyling my little drawing. I could draw back in the days, but now I'm just garbage at it, so don't judge. It's a rough sketch, okay? No artiste. I just play one on TV. So now I'm looking at the leaves, trying to figure out how I could do have some of the image of the leaves in the background like it was. I did my best, y'all. Don't judge. Well, you can judge, do what you do, but I did what I could do. I'm just showing you my struggles. So now I finally got some form of an image. I know you can see all the crosshairs in the back of the pelican. The flamingo, sorry. I realized that the flamingos should be facing away from each other. And when I drew it on, I had both of the flamingos facing left. And I was just so hurt. And I tried to paint over that. As you can see, it didn't work because of the Sharpie. And retrace and redraw in the correct direction. So I really had to paint so many times to try to cover my mistake. But I got it right. Right now, I was testing out going in with the little highlights of the dark areas of the pink flamingo on the image. Around the belly, back of the neck, top of the head, to see how that worked out. And I could already see, I went in, I did those highlights, and I tried painting it. I had to go over it, redo the highlights because the tracing in itself was still showing through. I had to, hand painting with the Angelus paint was a struggle. It was much thinner than I expected. I knew I had to do more than one coat, but good Lord. I mean, it was still showing through in the final product, but you see my struggles. My nails poking through, my gloves. I had to keep changing them out. So right now I decided, because painting, I would probably have to just paint the base and then go in with more detail. I used the little tracing pen. I don't know what you call it. The little ball tracer. That helped with the outlines to give me something to work with. So I got the main outlines of the bird and some of the highlights, well, some of the feathers and everything, which I probably should have waited because I had to paint over those and redo that, but at least it gave me kind of a base of where the leaves and the lines should be. But again, it was a struggle. So next time I'll take it basic, put the details in later, or figure out some way to do the tracing that will show properly, go in with the base, and then once the base is solid and I can't see the bottom anymore, I think I'll go on top of the base once it dries with the detail, because it'll just reduce the amount of times I had to go in with the paint, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I was being anxious here and getting ready to fill in, because I was ready to see some finished product. So I went in with the black. I did all the black lines, outline of that. And like I said, if it wasn't just the outline, anything that I did interior wise inside the flamingo for the detail, I had to go back over and do again. So here I am drawing in the legs, and y'all, trying to make a straight line and a zigzag texturized pattern was giving me the struggles. I mean, it was hard. So I started going in and making little ticks of lines to try and fabricate a straight line. by going in every little crease and crevice. So I tried lightly and then I went back in, as you can see, in every little divot to try to fill that in to make it look like a solid line. For the most part, it worked. Trying to get them toes. My details on the toes just disappeared. It looked good on the outline. Well, it looked decent on the outline, but you can barely tell the thing got toes when I was done with it. See, now the foot looks kind of normal. Oh, you've had a day, need to feel legit. Come on, wine with tilted wick. Light it up, watch it glow. Scent so good, got you saying whoa. Fruity, spicy, clean or bold. These vibes ain't lukewarm, they're pure gold. I tried to get them bird toes, them claws to come through, but it was giving me some struggle there. And here I'm trying to make a distinction, the little legs, trying to make a distinction of what I actually wanted to show and you know, my oopsie in the background. So I changed it a couple of times. Making the border of the legs a little wider because they were getting a little too fat. So had to thin those out with some shadows. Outline of the neck. A little thicker, a little more bold. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Pure gold, eco-friendly, hand-poured flair. Tilted wicks, flames are beyond compare. Let's get lit, let's set the mood. Candles hotter than your attitude. From chillin' solo to date night moves. Tilted wicks here to improve your groove. Bubble bath vibes on Netflix flow. Set it off right, let the ambiance grow. Who needs a flame that comes with the fire when this one's loyal and burns just right? I really didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go too far, and I didn't want my painter's tape to fail me, so I didn't want to put too much emphasis on the actual edges. Since it was black, I wasn't giving it too much pause if I didn't get any paint on it, because you know it'll show black. But I had to clean some of the paint, like some of the white paint, because I went all the way around the edge. I had to clean some of that up later where I didn't go back in with the black because I added all my paint. And I'm working on the second shoe with the little tracing tool again to go in with detail. I'm a pro at this now, you can see. That took forever because every time I, dipped it in the paint and rubbed it off, it of course came off immediately. It's not an ink pen, so I had to keep wetting it with the black paint. So I worked with that in order to get a cleaner outline of a flamingo, and it worked for me. I mean, I got all Angela's tools to work with, and they only had one fine-tipped paintbrush. So here's my final product. I had to fabricate, the leaves weren't there, so I just made some leaves, and trying to make distinguished leaves, it didn't work. But here's the final product. I made it work. It looks decent. Um, you know, anybody who's paying more attention to the detail is probably somebody I kicked, and I'm walking away from like this in slow mo, and they're probably the only people that will see the actual detail. But I got it down to a simple science. I'm sure I will perfect my process, but I'm still loving it. It's cute. I put enough layers to cover most of the markers. So here it is, folks. Isn't it cute?
Your stress got you feeling tight. Tilted wick's gonna set you right.